You recording?
I am.
Awesome. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We have a packed house here, and we actually look on our TV here. We have a packed house online. We even have some of our friends joining us. Looks like Florida or something. Shout outs to all of them from the different markets. Quad Cities, I believe, is meeting in Moline office this morning, so everybody wave. That's a full house there. We have Cedar Rapids on there. And then our new family friends up in Okoboji are hanging out around us. So fun fact, the office up there used to be a bar. The bar's still there. I've never seen it. Hello, everybody.
Like there's a bar.
It's a bar. That's our manager.
Hi, Ben.
Maybe she can't hear. Let's hope
Beer 30 everywhere, right?
Okay, so real quick, we always want to thank our sponsors and see if any of them have anything to say. So, she's right here. Heather was sent. Oh, they're even here. We got talking to this.
I know. Hold on.
Oh, you're gonna record that? Okay, I'm gonna get on.
Social media.
All right, all right.
So my name's Heather with Cinch Home Warranty. I just want to stand up here first and thank everyone for partnering with Cinch. And I can tell you how awesome I am and how great Home Warranty is, and to put me on every transaction. But I think it's more important to hear it from your own. So I asked Jenny Farrell to just say a few words. I've been with her for almost 2 years now since I started with Cinch, and we have done a lot of deals together. So I just asked her if she just share her experiences with working with me. So I'll hand over. Oh, let's try to stand up.
Take the mic.
No. Hey, Jenny, come up so they can see you.
Come up.
Thanks for coming outside. So if you're new to concepts and you haven't used Heather, she's great to work with. She goes above and beyond. She's not afraid to give her number out to you or to your clients. Don't abuse it. But I use it for some investment properties that I have, and quick to respond. And if she can't find somebody to get it done quicker, she's super accommodating if you have your own guy. It's not in their wheelhouse of contractors they use. So I really encourage you to try Cinch. Their product is really good, and Heather she's freaking awesome. Like, we're hard on our contractors, we're hard on our vendors, but she's super quick to respond. And in fact, she owes me for something and she keeps bugging me for it, and I haven't turned in the invoice, and it's been over 6 months. So I'm like, hey.
So like I said, I can stand up here all day and tell you how awesome I am, but I think word of mouth is more important, and I'd love to, work with every one of you in this room. So if you want to learn more, give me a call, and we'll, meet up for coffee, and I'd love to help you out and help your clients out.
For all of our friends online, she does cover the entire state. Okay, so it was just mentioned to me that I forgot to, if you're new to concepts, stand up and for your first breakfast. Or you can raise your hand.
Kenny?
All right.
Raise your hand, Kenny.
Okay.
It's only been 6 years.
You don't have to come up here, but just stand and say what office you're in. Let's hear from Grand. We got 3 raise your hand right here. Okay.
That's an inside joke about Kenny, by
Yes.
the way.
Okay. Back to sponsors. Max Insurance. I saw Todd walking in here. I don't know if he's got anything to talk about. I'm sure he does.
Oh, are you kidding? Do I have something to say? You kidding me? I always have something to say. So I've had a few hits, so folks talking about life insurance. I love talking about life insurance. Which I joke about, it's kind of shaped and morbid, I get it, but it's very important to me. And all jokes aside, it is why I do. I didn't start doing this to insure your home and your autos. I did it to insure your life and protect your family. So I have a sign in my office that I just wanted to mention. I'm gonna throw it up on social media today. It's too good to not mention often enough, but it's simple. It says, "It's my job to ask you about life insurance. Please don't make it my job to tell your family you didn't have it." Okay? Now, oh, yeah. So if you don't have any, let's talk. If you know somebody that you love that doesn't have it, you want them to protect their family, let's talk. It's a simple conversation, doesn't take long, and let's help protect those families. Let's help protect your loved ones. All right, that's all I got. Thanks. I need to bring a testimony next time.
Anyone's done that. Chuck and Emily with Motto. Chuck's coming.
Thank you. Who likes lower rates? Everybody? All right. And if you got my email yesterday with the rate sheet, the Fed raised the rate a 1/4 point yesterday, but that had a great result on mortgage rates. Everybody is starting to think that the Fed is now slowing down their rate hikes. Today, there was an economic report that came out that showed there are more layoffs, which is a bad thing, but for mortgage rates, that's a good thing. Because, if we were to go into a recession, the way to get out of that is lower rates. And so it's a shell game, but right now we're sort of on the downside of it. So we were seeing rates almost in the 4s yesterday, 5.125 for FHA and VA. Conventional's a little bit slower to come down, but from what I was seeing this morning, there should be some other rate improvements today. So one thing I want to say, if you have buyers, one of the advantages with working with Emily or we are a mortgage broker. We have a lot of different investors we work with. If we have somebody locked in and rates do come down, we do have the ability, and for the Quad Cities, Sharon and Rick out in the Quad Cities as well. We do have the ability to switch investors. We don't like doing it. It's not something we want to take advantage of, but if rates do come down and a borrower that we have locked in says, hey, I'm getting that. In a lot of places, people don't have that ability. So what they're locked in at, their options of switching are a little bit different. So if you've got a buyer who's locked in, who's asking you about lower rates, and they're not getting a great deal from whoever they're locked in with, have them reach out to us. We can see if there's an option. We can see if we don't want to disrupt a closing or a closing time frame, but we've got investors where we could literally close within about a week if the appraisal's done, title's done, and everything else. So just let us know.
Okay, we have one of our attorneys, Sarah. There she is. She's with the Real Estate Service Center. She's going to come up and talk about exactly what she does because I think there's some confusion a little bit with our two attorneys.
Yes, good morning. So I've had a couple agents reach out recently that they could not find me. And that's because I am at the Real Estate Service Center, so I'm still at the Vista office. And after this, I will post my direct line and my email in First to Know so that hopefully this isn't an issue going forward, but I'm there for whatever you need as far as doc prep goes. So Paul will take care of more of the day-to-day type questions you might have on a listing or anything like that. I will do deed packages if you have somebody who needs a standalone quick claim deed, anything like that. Give me a call. Can usually turn around those simple docs pretty quick. A lot of times those are the same day. As far as title work, I can do the cash, I can do commitments, I can do certificates, whatever you need. I have been hearing in the office a little bit about some other firms having abstracts sitting for a week or two and, waiting on those title opinions to come around. I typically have my desk clear before I leave the office every day. So a 48-hour turnaround would be pretty standard on a commitment or a title opinion. If they're to me by 2, I will have them to you that day, especially if you need them, you kind of give me a heads up. If there's something crazy going on, I at least let, your TC or somebody know, like, hey, I got this one sitting, but beyond that 48 hours is pretty rare. So if you need any of those things, just don't hesitate to reach out and I'm at the service center.
We are just going to reference, be respectful of time, creative concepts, because all the things, reach out to Madison, the real estate school, where all of our awesome CEs, and then max property management. Real quick, people get asked a lot, what max property does. We are up to, I don't see Scott here, but over 300 units, primarily multifamily, commercial, and some HOA. There are residential by referral only, usually coming from agents within the brokerage. Next, Concepts Cares. Maria, you have stuff. Yes, she does.
Okay, real quick, Maria Lamasser with Concepts Cares. I just wanted to thank you all for the work that you were able to accomplish through Concepts Cares this past year. It was incredible. I've been reflecting the last 6 weeks on everything that we did, and what we do in the communities that we serve is directly because of you and your contributions, your support of our organization. If you are not currently pledging out of your commission checks and you would like to, it's super easy. Kathy will tell you 100% every single day. You don't miss it. Comes right off the top, and it really allows us to plan for the things that we're doing and also to respond quickly to needs of our clients and community members. So just quick plug. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, before we get to our speaker, actually one more announcement just popped up. So I don't know if anyone noticed, yesterday was Capital Day on the Hill. So a lot of people were busting, letting speak to our legislation. And we actually, Lance for us is the BS director, right? He has a new title. It's Federal Political Coordinator, right?
Yes.
So he's gonna come and give some updates on some of the bills we're trying to get pushed through on our behalf.
Yeah, all that means is that I'm the go-between for Zach Dunn. So I make sure we take issues and stuff to him and then report back stuff that he's working on too. So it sounds better than it probably is, but anyway, it's cool. So yesterday's was Day on the Hill, and I don't know how many there were. I don't know, a few hundred. Michelle, you were there, but it was quite a turnout, and so we talked to multiple legislators about what was going on. There's 4 things that we specifically talked to. One, the HOAs, and they're looking at a set of guidelines for HOAs so that they can't continue to raise funds just for signing an affidavit for us. They're also $400, yeah. So we're working on that, and then setting up where you would have all of the docs for an HOA would be online. They can require something there. I don't know if it's going to be size-based or whatever. But anyway, so we got that going on. The other thing is property taxes. The state made a mistake. It was a $120 billion mistake in their in the way they do the rollbacks. The state rollbacks for taxes. So they made a $120 billion mistake. They're trying to figure out how to correct that, because that whole mistake was out of the city's pockets. And so they're trying to save face and figure out a way to straighten that out. So we're involved in that, just saying, hey, don't harm anybody, try to do the right thing. And it's not like they have bottomless pockets to get the money back. So we'll figure that part out. We also had the consumer protection part that we're talking about, is where we quote and celebrated that the Iowa Supreme Court found that the brokerage and agent were not responsible in the slip and fall that was set up when somebody went to have a showing, slip, fell, hurt themselves, and sued. And so it transferred all the way through until where they actually took cyber realty to the brokerage to court. So it was a victory in that they didn't. The thing was that in the dissenting opinions by the Supreme Court justices, there were only a few little things that, had that have changed, they would have brought the brokerage and agent to bear. So we are proactively going down to try to get, the idea is like, listen, the responsibility of maintenance and safety of a property is the owners, not the agents. We can circumvent that by going out and doing something on our own. And if you sort of brush the snow off of something and you don't do a good job and somebody slips and falls, it very well could be on you. So just be aware of that when you're being a nice person and shoveling sidewalks and stuff for a showing. Make sure you do one hell of a damn good job on those sidewalks, okay? Because that's going to be very important. So those are 3 of the 4 things. I'm trying to remember the 4th thing.
Was it the?
It's that, it's not on the national level.
That's
but
not-
the
oh,
tribal
DOJ.
with the-
Oh, yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it isn't here yet, but people are coming in from other areas. And what they do is they come in specifically with like older people, like me, and they come in and they offer to give them money up front. They get some money and it's like maybe $3,000 or something. And then those people sign a 40-year agreement that goes on the property as a lien, and nobody can sell that out to them for 40 years. And if they have somebody else sell it, they have to pay that company 3% of whatever the sale price is, even 20 years down the road. So we're working on making sure we block that out because that's predatory, and we want to make sure it doesn't happen in the state of Maine. So that's what happened. If anybody, we had a couple of people that were there yesterday for Hill Day. It's a lot of fun. We had a good time. Just going up, you get to visit with the legislatures, hear a bunch of stuff, see the Capitol, which is amazing. So next year, feel free. Thank you very much.
All right, now, I think we're going to be introducing our speaker. I think most of you know who he is. We were discussing who could come in and share something that could be inspiring and motivational, and his name popped up because the transformation that's been made over the last couple of years has been remarkable. I'm not going to steal his thunder because I know part of his presentations. So, but I've known him for 2016 maybe. So is with my privilege to introduce my second favorite Campos. Right here. Cameron.
Mic working again? No?
Hello.
Oh,
Might need to put it up more.
Do you want to do this?
yeah, we'll just do that. We're gonna make this easier. This is starting off
Oh,
awesome.
that was better.
Everyone can see me, can everyone hear me? It's a Harry Potter reference. I'm getting ready to do that. So anyway, good morning, everybody. I'm super excited to be here and be talking to all of you this morning. I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous. So I'm going to do my best to make it through and not fumble over my words and talk in circles. But so a little bit about me. My name is Cameron Campos. I'm a realtor here with Remax Concepts, heading into my 7th year of real estate at this awesome company. I like long walks on the beach and I'm not afraid to cry. So the title of my presentation today is called "You've Already Done It." So we're gonna parking lot that though. We're gonna come back to that here in a minute. So my main objectives today, what I want to accomplish here is one, I want to share my story with you, share some things with you that I've been through in my life that have made an impact in my life, and how I got to where I am today. And I also want to give you some inspiration and some confidence to know that everything that you're going through in your life is going to work out just fine. And if I'm pacing too much, somebody tell me. And the last thing before I wrap up, I promise to leave you with just a little mental nugget, if you will, on how it's possible to accomplish anything you want to accomplish. So with that, we'll go ahead and dive in. So another thing about me that I want to share before we get dive into much is I have a really good memory. I remember everything. It's like it's visual, like I can go back in time in my mind and replay everything like watching a movie. So in order to share my story, we're going to take you on a journey today and we're going to go back in time. So yeah, right. That's me. That's a little Cam. in my sweet 90s fashion. I think those were like, this is like my Oshkosh overalls and my combination bowl cut mullet. So for all the influencers out there, I know we like to recycle trends, but if we could just think on bringing back 90s fashion a little bit before we do it, that would be super. But I was born and raised on the south side of Des Moines, and so the very first thing I remember was when I was from 2.5 years old. 2.5 years old in this picture. It's at this house on the south side of Des Moines. So my very first memory has to do with these steps. We had these steps and this little concrete stoop that led up to our front door. And one night, my dad came home from work, and he had the ring of keys. Like, this was really popular back in the 90s, was to carry like the giant ring of keys. And so my dad was letting himself in the front door. Something about these steps is there was like a 2-inch gap in between the stoop and the foundation of the house, and my dad dropped his keys down to the bottom of that. So like this was a whole ordeal. Like, this was the whole night. My dad ended up like calling some of his work friends to come help him figure out how to get his keys out of this crack, and they did it. Like, so what they ended up doing was they ended up like untangling a wire coat hanger because they put fish that came right out. And that was, yeah, I mean, it was like the whole night. And then like, we threw a big pizza party afterwards. So, something like that. So that was just kind of a fun, that really had nothing to do with the rest of this presentation. But I just enjoy sharing the first thing that I remember as a little 2.5-year-old. So let's go forward a little bit. This is me right around the age of 4 heading to 5, end of kindergarten, still rocking that sweet haircut and turtleneck. Love it. So this was my kindergarten class picture. And as I started progressing through life, one night before I got into kindergarten, I was home. My dad was with me and my mom was not. And my dad picked me up and sat me on the kitchen counter. And this was the night that he told me that him and my mom weren't going to be together anymore. So my parents divorced at a young age. And I had to learn very quickly how to navigate 2 different lifestyles. So my parents had split custody of me. So what that meant is like every Monday and Tuesday I would stay at one parent's house, and every Wednesday and Thursday I would stay at the other parent's house, and then we would rotate every other weekend. And that's a lot for a 4 and 5-year-old to do. But figured it out. We got through it. Shortly after my parents got divorced, my mom ended up remarrying my stepdad. And my stepdad had 2 older kids. They were significantly older than me. One was in high school, one was in middle school when I was about this age. But I thought it was pretty cool to have like older step siblings to hang out with every now and look up to. But a few years later, my first brother came into the picture. So this is me and my first brother, half brother technically, but he's my brother. His name's Karsten. And is anybody have siblings out there? Like anybody the oldest sibling? Yeah, cool. So like I'm the oldest sibling technically in my family, and it's cool, right? Like being the oldest sibling is cool until it's not cool. But it's cool initially. Like so he was born when I was in 1st grade, and I actually had my mom bring him to my elementary school as my show and tell item. But I thought it was pretty darn cool having a little brother. So. But this is us from one Halloween. You can't tell he's dressed up as an M&M, and I am dressed up as a Looney Tunes character, Speedy Gonzales, which I understand Speedy Gonzales is no longer considered PC. So if I ever wanted to run for office, I just blew my chances by showing you this photo. Yeah. These files have been unclassified. But anyway, yeah, I love being an older brother. So we're gonna fast forward a few more years. Like, oh, I gotta point this way. There we go. A few more years went by, and my second brother came into the picture. So this is my second brother, Quentin. Now, Quentin was a big baby. He was a big boy. I mean, look at those cheeks. Like, he was something else. And so something that's crazy about Quentin is he was premature. So I don't remember exactly how premature he was born, but I remember he was born premature. And even though he was premature, he was still over 10 pounds. So he was a big baby. So Quentin was born right around the time when I was 9 years old and in the 5th grade. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped about being an older brother of 2 younger brothers. Yeah. Ivy. So something about us growing up is
we didn't have a lot. My parents did the best they could with what they had, but just being completely honest, we were pretty poor. And so Hy-Vee, this is the Hy-Vee, this is a specific Hy-Vee. This is Hy-Vee over on the south side of Des Moines, on Southeast 14th and Park Avenue. So people might know where that one is. Hy-Vee back in the day used to do these like dinner specials. So like they would, like a certain night of the week, they would have some sort of meal that was super cheap. And every now and then, well, growing up, since we were poor, we got to go out to eat. And we would go to these like dinner specials. And like the night that we were going to go here was chili night. And I was super excited about it. Like getting to go to dinner at Hy-Vee was like fine dining for me. So I just remember being so pumped on this night that we were going to go to chili night. So I mentioned my brother Quentin was born. He was born premature. Since he was born premature, he got to spend a few days in the intensive care unit. And then the night that we were going to go out for chili was shortly after Quentin got to come home. And so I spent all day telling all my friends at school how excited I was to go out for chili night. And like, it was just, I was elated on cloud nine. And then I came home that day, came home from school that day, still super excited. Like I walked in my mom's house and without skipping a beat, I just started right now. I was like, Mom, it's chili night. I'm pumped. And like, have you ever had Hy-Vee chilies? Anybody had it? It's not good. I was excited about it. I was so excited to go out for chili night. So I come walking in the door talking about how excited I am to go to chili night. My mom stops me. She says, hey, I'm so sorry. We've got to change plans. And I was like, okay. And she's like, we got to run up to the doctor's office. Quentin's not feeling too good. Oh, sorry. Okay, keep it up here. My mom stopped me and said, hey, we got to go up to the doctor's office. Quentin's not feeling too good. So I was pretty devastated that we weren't going to get to go out to eat that night. And anybody going to the doctor, and if you ever go to the doctor's office back in the 90s, like even if you had an appointment, you were still waiting in the lobby for a good hour or so. So I knew our whole night plans had changed this night. And so we hop up in the car, and I've been through this before. Like I had a younger brother, kids get sick all the time. It happens. And so instead of going out to chili that night, we all hopped in the car and headed up to the doctor's office. We drove up the street. We drove up the street to this building here. This building is located on Southwest 9th near Park Avenue. This back in the 90s was a Mercy clinic. And so I don't know what it is anymore. So I think it's a vacant building. But this is where we went. And so my stepdad drops me and my mom and my brother off at the door. We walk up to the receptionist counter, and my mom goes to the receptionist and says, hey, there's something not right with my baby. And I will never forget how quickly the look on that receptionist's face changed. It went from like a normal greeting to just like instant shock. And then, so the receptionist, like, I've never seen somebody jump up so fast in life. She jumped up and ran to the back. And I thought that was pretty confusing. So I had anticipated waiting for a while. So we get pulled right back to a room fairly quickly. And our family physician actually was at this office. He was on staff that night. So he came in right away. And I am sitting in the back of this room, in the corner of this room, watching. And she says to the doctor, she says, hey, something's not right with my baby. And instantly, our doctor grabbed my brother and threw him down on that table and dove into CPR. So it's something to see when you're watching a grown man like pump away on a 9-day-old baby's chest, and everything was happening so fast. Like I didn't understand what was going on, and I just remember being scared. And once the CPR started getting a little more intense, a lot of the nurses started coming into the room, bringing all this equipment in. At this point, this is when my mom lost it. So my mom went into the stairs and started freaking out. And me, a 9-year-old boy, watching all this happen, started freaking out too. So I lost control of myself and started crying. And eventually one of the nurses took me out, took me into another room. I watched my big brother die on that table that night. Down for 9 days. But that experience still impacts me to this day. Yeah, so, okay, all right, you shake it off. All right, good, good, go, woo. Everything's
Did you bring tissues?
I did not bring any tissues, I'm sorry, so that's my bad. I should have put a trigger warning on this presentation.
next
It's my-
one,
it's my bad. We're still, I still wasn't sure, like, as we continued on, I had to navigate grief and loss at a young age, like what happened, like, we were initially told, that it could have been SIDS, what we, think so, I'm good. We were initially told that it was SIDS. What we would find out later was that it was just a freak occurrence. He picked up some random infection and couldn't fight it. And so 9 days, I got to spend with my baby brother. So let's keep going. You guys ready to keep going? Feeling good? Cool.
Great.
So heading out of elementary school and into middle school, as I mentioned earlier, we didn't have a lot. We were pretty poor. Heading into middle school, this is when I started to get bullied quite a bit. And not in the way that you would think. I wasn't necessarily physically bullied, but a lot of things that were looked at back in the 90s and 2000s as like a harmless teasing and kids being kids is more than that. So some specific examples I can remember in school. So I remember in middle school one day, like we were working on a project and we were out in the hallway and we had big poster boards that we were working on. And I was laying across the hallway, another class was walking past us and a few of the students stepped over me and like one girl like said to her friend, she was like, ew, I just stepped over Cameron. And that sucked. Like I didn't acknowledge it, but it really stung. So I just kept my head down and kept going on. Another example I can remember of students doing that was in another class. One day, a bunch of kids were talking about like what they would do if they were rich, like if they had money. And one of the kids behind me, to his friend, said, "Oh, if I was rich, I thought Cameron some better clothes." And this just got the whole class laughing. Like kids are assholes. And so parents tell your kids to be better because a lot of this stuff got shrugged off when I was a kid as kids being kids and it's harmless teasing, but stuff like this cuts deep and we hang on to it all our lives. So tell your kids to be better. Oh, we're gonna fast forward some more. So this is me. That's my first day of high school, my freshman year of high school. And these are some apartments that I lived in with my dad at the time. So these apartments over on the south side of Des Moines on the corner of Southeast 22nd and Evergreen. I don't know if anybody knows where that is. It's over on the south side near Easter Lake. So spent some time there and like heading into high school, early into my freshman year. It was summer night, it's hot, and we had our window air conditioning units like blasting. And I don't know if you ever had a window air conditioning unit, but they're not quiet. We had 3 of them in this apartment going to keep us cool, but they were loud. And we were sitting there watching TV one night, like we just started hearing this like abundance of sirens from emergency vehicles. Like they just kept coming. We're like, whoa, I wonder what's going on. So we lived up on the 3rd floor. And we decided to go down and see if we could see what was going on with all of these emergency vehicles. And this was this was back in the days before social media, so we could find out things instantly. So we go down to like a couple of weirdos and stand on the street corner, and we're watching all these emergency vehicles drive by. So it's ambulance after ambulance and it's fire truck after fire truck, and it went on for like a half an hour. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? But we called it a night. We couldn't really figure out what happened. And we're like, we'll find out tomorrow on the news. So we just called it a night and went back about our business. So I went to school at Lincoln High School in Des Moines. In the next morning after all that happened, so we would go to Lincoln in Des Moines off the Southwest night. Before school would open, we would all stand out on this lawn and hang out with our friends and talk before they opened the doors, and we stand out there. So the next morning is when we would find out what happened. We're standing out there, and my friend Kevin comes walking up to our group, and Kevin, he's this big, like, he's a football player. He's a big, burly guy, right? He's a tough guy. He comes up just as pale as a ghost, soaked in tears. And we're like, Kev, you okay? Like, what's going on? And Kevin couldn't talk. Kevin just, all he could get out was, they're dead. They're dead. And he just kept repeating it, and then eventually he took off experience. We didn't really know what that meant or what had happened. And it wouldn't be until third period that day where we would find out what had happened. So I was in biology class in third period and the announcement came over me. And what we found out was the day before, 4 kids made a choice to get in a car. This was really popular to do when I was growing up. Kids, when they got their cars, they would do this thing called maxing them out. And so what maxing out meant was kids would go take their cars and find a straightaway and see how fast they could get their car going from a complete stop. And so what we found out in the announcements that day, that 4 kids decided to get in the car and see how fast they could go. Only one of them decided to wear a seatbelt. So this is not the best picture this is the only picture that I could find. I lost 3 of my good friends that night in the car accident. My friends Mitchell, Nick, and Sean chose not to wear a seatbelt, and they did not survive that car accident. This is everything I've been through in my life. Like this rocked me as a person. Like this, and it rocked like our whole school. And in fact, this happened back in September of 2003. I think it rocked our whole Central Iowa community. A lot of people probably remember when this happened. The crazy thing about this is where this happened on the straightaway out by Easter Lake, which was a half a mile from the apartments that I was staying at with my dad. That was a lot. At this point, I'm in high school. I'm navigating my teenage angst emotions and dealing with all of the grief and loss that I've had to deal with in my life. One night I lost control of my emotions. So in typical teenage boy fashion, I decided to get in a fight with a concrete wall. Spoiler alert, the wall won. Don't punch walls. But yeah, one night, like everything had just come to a head and I lost it. I was so angry and upset and drove my fist straight into a wall. And out of everything that I've been through in my life, the stupidest thing about this was the thing that set me over the edge that night was a damn girl. Like, just blew it. But don't punch walls; it doesn't work out. But so at this point in my life, like I was pretty upset. I was in high school, and I was navigating a lot of emotions and a lot of things that I had experienced, and I was getting myself into some low spaces. Now, people will tell you, a lot of the people that knew me in high school would tell you I was a pretty happy kid. A lot of kids, once I got to high school, a lot of people would probably tell you that I was one of the popular kids in high school, whatever that means. But it really inside, like that was the Cameron that I wanted everybody to see. But that wasn't really what was going on inside. Like I was in a pretty dark spot and heading into some low places. I was heading down the path and making some questionable decisions. One of the most questionable decisions was my haircut. Like, I don't even know. Oh yeah, that too. Like, yeah. That was so. You gotta laugh to keep from crying, right? Like, I don't even know what that is. I think I wanted to like reverse my childhood haircut and like flip the mullet around and put the mullet in the front and shorten that. I don't know. But anyway, so like I was heading down. And I was getting into some dark, low spaces, and I started making some questionable decisions. And one day I was talking to my mom, and my mom told me something that I will always hang on to. So it's this: she told me that life is all about choices. Every choice you make impacts the amount of choices you get to make in the future. Well, it's good, right? Now, I'm going to say it again. Life is all about choices. Every choice you make impacts the amount of choices you get to make in the future. This is something I was told in junior year of high school, and I still use this every day. Like every time I have to make a decision, even if it's like, what am I going to eat for breakfast? Okay, how is this choice going to impact everything that's coming down the road? And that's a good little nugget of information. So I'm glad I see some people taking pictures of that. It's a good one to hang on to. But, yeah, I'll give you that. And get that.
Yeah.
You gotta put her name on it.
Yeah. I need to like the heart tattoo on my arm. So we're heading into senior year. This is my senior picture. I fixed my hair.
Makeup off.
Yeah, we figured it out, or at least I thought I did. But senior year of high school, I was approaching adulthood, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. And back in the early 2000s, there was a big push for the message that was into our heads. You gotta go to college. You gotta get a degree. You gotta get your job. And that's the only way you're going to make it in life. And honestly, for me, like, college wasn't going to be an option. So at this point, I had lost interest in education. But like I said, we didn't have a lot. So my parents weren't going to be able to help me all with financing college. So it was up to me. But the sucky part is, it's like my parents' combined income was just over the threshold to qualify for any financial aid. So it just wasn't going to be an option. It's going to be all on me to go to college. And there was a big push, but like, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I didn't know that. And then some teachers throughout my senior year of high school did not help me. So some teachers told me some things that I hang on to, and I will never forget. One teacher told me to my face, she's like, "You'll never amount to anything without a college degree." Another teacher told us that our success level depends on the zip code that we're born in. So being that we were born on the south side of Des Moines, 50315, like, I don't know, you can go look up the median income of that zip code. It's not great. But basically we're told in high school, like, oh, you're only going to make it so far in life because this is where you're from. That pissed me off. So I had a choice. I was making choices, heading down a dark, questionable path, and I'm being told that, like, I know college isn't going to be for me. It's not going to be an option. And I'm being told that I'm never going to get anywhere in life without it. And so I could have made a choice to follow and ended up being a burnout like most of the other kids I went to high school with. So a figure for you here, when I entered Lincoln High School, my freshman class was over 1,000 students. Well over 300 of that 1,000 graduated. Yeah. Yep. And I've heard that it's just getting worse. But so I could have followed that path and gone down that road. But I chose, and I said to those teachers, Tom, I was like, "Oh, you tell me I'm not going to be anything? Watch me." So I chose to defy the odds. It was a poor kid from the south side of Des Moines from a broken home with all of the odds against me. I said, no, I'm not going to take what you're saying to me. I'm going to make something of myself. I chose to defy the odds. So I get to talk about work stuff now. This is fun. So I did a few years out of high school in the food industry, which is an experience. I got my first professional job at a company called EDS that was owned by HP back in 2008. And so EDS at HP, they had a contract with Sprint. It was cool. This was like this is my introduction into the wireless industry. I spent a good chunk of my professional life in the wireless industry. It was really neat. Like, it was neat to be in this industry because this was before like all of the emerging technology really came out. This was before smartphones were a thing. Like, this is when Blackberries were just coming out. You guys remember Blackberries? Anybody ever have a Blackberry? Yeah, buddy. This was before iPhones and before Androids, and so like I was super fascinated by all of this emerging technology. So I loved it. I was really into the techie stuff. So I spent a few years at EDS working there, but I was ambitious too. Like, I wanted to make something of myself. So I was like, I'm going to climb every ladder that I can climb. I'm going to get promoted and go as far as I can, as fast as I can. So I did quickly. I got promoted. I had my own team of agents that I was responsible for. But I also was like, I wanted to make money. And so I ended up leaving EDS after a couple of years because Sprint Corporate had a tech position open. I was really into the techie stuff back then. And the pay was like double what I was making at my job. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Let's get a higher hourly rate and go do that. So I ended up applying and interviewing at Sprint for a tech position. Now, management told me, they said, hey, when I applied for this interview, or when I applied for the job, they told me, they're like, hey, we actually filled that tech position with another candidate, but we've got a sales role open. If you want to do that instead. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I need a job and I want to make money, but I've never done sales before, and I was pretty uncomfortable by it and didn't really want to do it, but I took it, so I needed a job. And this was my my first experience working in a commission-based role. And so 3 months into that role, my manager came to me and he was like, hey, so the tech position opened up. Do you want to go ahead and switch over to the tech side? And I said, no. I have learned working on a commission-based role that the harder I worked and the better I was at my job, the more I got paid. Yeah, like, let's do that. So I enjoyed working in the sales for a while. I actually met a lot of you realtors back when I was working, and a lot of realtors were my customers. Let me tell you, like, I loved it when realtors came into my store. You want to know why I loved it when realtors came into my store? Realtors are easy to sell to. I don't know if you knew this about yourself, but there's a running joke in almost every industry that realtors are easy sales targets. So I want you to think about that. The next time you have to go to buy a car or buy a TV or a phone or everything, people love realtors. Realtors like to spend money. I actually met a lot of you. So some faces that you might recognize that were some regular customers of mine back in the day. You might recognize some of the people I helped Lawrence Fresno with Developers Realty. Jaime Garra over at Berkshire. Kirk Hauser was him and Honey were at Realty back in the day. My cousin AJ Anderson, I'm gonna do that. AJ is my cousin. He's over at Caldwell. Everyone knows Dawn Edwards, like Gal Dawn. She was my listening to very own Jess. Jess Rocker. She's a customer of mine way back in the day. So that was a good time. I think you agreed this. So I spent a few years working at Sprint and the same thing. So I enjoyed the sales part of it, but I was never satisfied with the status quo. So I was going to climb the ladder, which I did. I got myself a few promotions. I ended up being responsible for a sales team at some point. And like, that's when I learned something about myself. Like, I actually really enjoy helping other people, not just customers, but I enjoy helping people better their lives. And so I got to like coach a sales team. I focused on small business. I became a subject matter expert on small business, and eventually got myself up to where I was the assistant manager of sales and operations for Sprint here in the Des Moines area. But that wasn't enough because I'm an ambitious person and I will always want more. So after my stint at Sprint, no, I didn't plan that worked out fine. I made a switch over to US Cellular. US Cellular had a higher position where I was at, and again, was almost double my pay. So I'm like, yes, let's keep going. So I started with US Cellular, working my way up. I started as a sales manager, eventually had my own location, and by the time I left there, I had multiple locations I was responsible for. I actually met this guy back at US Cellular. Yeah, if you don't know who this is Mike Dunn. He's out of our Vista office, and Mike was one of our sales managers at one of our stores, and I recruited him to come over here and sell real estate with us. So if you know Mike, I'm sorry about that. Just kidding, Mike, I love you. But yeah, so I ended up working my way up pretty high, and things were good. But in my last position, I started losing my passion for what I was doing. A lot of that had to do because I wasn't working with people. My responsible was more about being behind the scenes and running the operations of the corporation. I thought that's what I wanted in life, but really, like, I'm passionate about working with people. And so I started losing my passion very quickly when I spent time at US Life. Some of you might know this gal. It's my wife, Emily. She celebrated her 10 years at Concepts this year. So yeah, awesome. She's often referred to as the better Campos or the favorite Campos at Concepts. But so Emily's been with Concepts for 10 years, and it was really cool. I mean, you guys probably don't know this, but Concepts is really good about events on throughout the year to keep our agents involved and keep them engaged. And so I got to go with Emily as her plus one to several of the Concepts events before I was regulating. So we Concepts used to do these things back in the day. So they used to throw like these themed parties. So like we did like the 70s themed, 80s themed, 90s themed Halloween parties. This is a few of the from awesome snapshots. So if we you get that, we got Lance, we got Shane, and this is basically Matt Morrow. I'm not wrong. If real estate ever doesn't work out for you, Jersey Store's got your number. This is another one that's just too good not to share too. So if you don't know, this is actually not Axl Rose and Slash. This is our very own Kathy Swanson. I didn't even know you at that point, but like I just think this was phenomenal. That was Steph Dark and Slash. Wasn't that? We had some good times coming to the Concept Stars. And by the way, brokers, this is my shameless plug. Let's bring back themed parties. Yeah. That was fun. But this night was extra special. So this night was a Concepts event. This was the Concepts Awards banquet in February of 2016. So you guys Some of you haven't been here, some of you have. Have you ever been to Concepts Awards Party Banquet? It's a good time. If you haven't been, go. It's worth it. We've got one coming up very shortly. But this was from Concepts Awards, February 2016. And why this night is special is because this is the night that I decided I wanted to become a realtor.
Yes.
Yeah. So February 2016, I was like, I was at my job. I wasn't passionate about what I was doing. I was way overworked. I was working like 80 plus hours a week. I just didn't like it anymore. And then so I come to the awards party that night, and just the energy in the room was phenomenal. Like seeing all of you Concepts agents. Like Concepts is just one big family. It always has been, and it still is. I love that. But it was so inspiring. The energy in that room was great. All of you guys seem to like be living your best life. I hate that. Live your best life, but I love it. You all were doing it. Like everybody was abundant. It was just a really good time. And so you all were so inspiring to me. And then like seeing like the award levels, like I was doing all right. Like I had a good job, I had a good salary, I was paid pretty well in the position that I was in. But like I was seeing the award levels and the production levels of what you guys as realtors were doing. I was like, oh, what am I doing? Like I could do that. So that was the night I decided, hey, I'm gonna go for it. But I don't know what to do. Like I'm scared. Like learning real estate is like learning a new language when you don't come up from it. So I didn't know what to do, and we were in a position where like I was comfortable with my salary, I was comfortable with the benefits that I had, and so like if I was gonna do it, I wanted to start part-time somewhere. And so like, what do I do? I talked to Emily about it. She's like, you need to go talk to Shane, and I don't even know why. I have no idea why she said talk to Shane, but that was what she told me. She's like, you need to go talk to Shane. And so I did. I reached out to Shane, set up a meeting back in 2016, and we met at the old Polk City office. So you guys all know where the new Polk City office is, or it's a big, beautiful building. Like the old Polk City office was this dusty old building in a strip mall in the city. And I was pretty intimidated when I met there to go with Shane. Like, has anybody ever found Shane intimidating? Like, kind of like I was nervous about it. I mean, I didn't know Shane very well. All I knew about him was that his bus benches looked like he was straight out of the Polk County Current Inmates page. And so that's all I knew. Like, I was pretty intimidated. Like, going into the old Polk City office, like it was in this old dusty building, and Shane had this like creepy dungeon basement office. And like, so I remember going downstairs and meeting with Shane and sitting behind his desk and my boss. Like, it was really awesome. But with Shane and I had a good conversation, and I jumped ahead a little bit, but if you never thought Shane was intimidating, once you get to know him, Shane's just a big teddy. Like, you just want to hug him. That's Shane. So Shane and I had a great conversation. I had talked with Shane a little bit about what my background and what I was doing. And Shane actually shared a lot about his background and what he had been through and how he had to be where he is. And we found each other pretty similar. So and I back in this time when I was joining like Concepts, I didn't think Concepts was really taking on like part-time new agents. And so like I knew Concepts where I wanted to end up, but I didn't know if I was going to be able to start here. But I owe Shane a lot for giving me a chance. So Shane agreed to give me a shot as a part-time agent. So in August 2016, I joined Remax Concepts as a part-time agent on tour scene. That's a beautiful team. I know some faces have changed, but Shane, you still got a beautiful team. I don't know if you know that. So it was a great time. I started part-time. My plan to get fully into real estate was I wanted to work part-time and stay at my full-time job until I felt comfortable enough to do what I was doing and dive in full, make sure I could do it. And I also wanted to save up an entire year of my previous job's salary. I wanted to have that set aside before I made the decision to jump full in. Things don't always go according to plan. So March of the following year, after I got licensed, our first son came to this world. This is our son, Quinn. I didn't go according to plan. I was planning. But we had Quinn in March of 2017, and one thing I was miserable in my job. I wasn't passionate about what I was doing anymore, and I was overworked. I was working like 80 plus hours a week and trying to do real estate part-time. And growing up from a split home, one thing when we had our son, one thing I made a decision on right away was I'm not going to miss any part of my son's childhood. And if I would have stayed on at my job, I would have missed all of it. So I made the decision a month after our son was born with the support of my wife. We took a risk and I decided to dive in with both feet and go full time and never looked back. It was the greatest career move I've ever made. So fast forward a few years, I spent a few years on Shane's team. Eventually, I figured out the ropes, went off on my own, and I partnered with Chris Moore. Chris and I now have what we call the MC Real Estate Team, Cameron Campos Real Estate Team. Sold a few houses, so it's been good. We run our business 100% referral and repeat business. So we've done all this without doing any sort of lead gen or we have a very small marketing budget. So I'm pretty proud. We got ourselves featured as the power team of the One Real Producers this last year. So that was pretty cool. And so yeah, at this point, out of everything I've been through, I think I made it. I think I figured it out. All right, so let's talk about why. So I'm going to talk about why I shared all that with you today. That my intent is to not brag. It's not about me and how awesome I am. I'm contrary to popular belief, I don't like being the center of attention. So this is a real comfort check for me talking to you about why. So I wanted to share my story with you as a source of as inspiration. So you know that everything's going to be okay. So life is going to throw things at us all the time. Life is going to throw obstacles in our path, things we can't control. We can't control what happens to us in our life. We can't control the events that happen to us. All we can control is how we respond. And how we respond is what determines our outcome. So let's parlay all that into this. So you guys all know, right? Like I wanted to remind you of what you can do, of what obstacles. Like we're all similar people in this room. We all have our stuff, right? Like everyone has traumas that we've experienced in our life. Everyone has hurdles and obstacles that we've had to overcome to get to where we are today. But to parlay all of that, our world changed last year in real estate, and so it took a while for some people to catch on. But in June of 2022, our housing market shifted. A lot of things started happening that we didn't have control over. So the buyer thinned out quite a bit. Right? Our listing started taking a while to sell. Interest rates took a hike. Can't control that. We can't control the media and all the messaging that's been thrown out there. All the doom and gloom. The sky is falling. Housing crisis. Can't control all of that. All we control is how we respond. But I wanted to remind you all today that we're still heading into some uncertain times ahead of us. We've got, there's all this talk about recession. Our world is very uncertain that we're heading into. And I know that heading into this year, there were a lot of nervous people out there. And a lot of you were nervous. There's still a lot of nervous people out there. But I shared this today because I wanted to remind you that we're all going to be just fine. We're all similar people. We're all ambitious people. That's why we do what we do for a living, right? We're going to be fine. And the real reason that we're going to be fine is, I mean this when I say that, you're all the best. This is the best damn group of realtors and the best staff working for the best real estate company. We're going to be fine. Try it out. Everything's fine. All right. Something else I think is kind of cool too. This is just a cool little thing because we're all connected. So what I mean by that is everything I've ever done in my life, everything that I've experienced up to this point, every choice that I've made has got me right here in this moment. And I think the cool thing is that everything that you've all done in your lives, every decision you've made, every obstacle you've overcome has also got you right here. I think it's pretty damn cool. So I just think that's cool. Okay. That's the amp up stuff. So now, before I wrap up, I promised to leave you with a mental hack. Give you something to take away and think about how you can accomplish anything. And being completely honest, like I have a lot of thoughts running through my head, and I rewrote this at 4 o'clock this morning. So if I fumble over it, just bear with me. But I'm going to talk to you about a mental hack on how you can accomplish anything you want to accomplish. So we're going to talk about goals. So everybody out here set goals. You should. Yeah. So talk about goals. we always set goals for things that we're striving after. Does anybody ever feel like the guy in this picture, like we have our goals in front of us, we're constantly like chasing after them? Like sometimes they feel somewhat out of reach. Well, what are some goals that we set? Like we set business goals, we set financial goals. Maybe your goals are to get in shape. Maybe your goals are you want to pick up a new hobby, like maybe get good at a sport or learn a musical instrument, anything like that. Or it could be a material goal too. Well, what do we know it takes to accomplish our goals? It takes practice and it takes time. Well, there is a laser pointer on this. Wow. Cool. That was an accident. It takes time. Right? It takes time to accomplish goals. So we're going to talk about how we view time. We perceive time as humans as linear. So what that means is we look at time like a timeline. So we're born, we go on our journeys through life, we die. Currently, all of us are floating around somewhere in the middle. Some of us a little further along than others. We're all floating through linear time. So the downside to linear time is where it can pull our attention. So the pitfalls of linear time, like if we're floating along through life, and if we look at one direction and we focus on our past and we dwell on our past. When we go on our past, this is what causes depression and regret and makes us question things like what ifs and can lead to some self-worthlessness. And on the flip side of that, if we focus too much on the future, if we ruminate on the future, this is what gives us anxiety and worry and fear and doubt. So that's why there's all this talk about like be in the moment, be present. That's what all this means. So we're going to talk about how to set our goals in the present. Our minds are powerful things. So we can convince ourselves of anything. Like I don't know if you knew this, like our brains are pretty amazing things. Our brains can get in the way we think. Like a lot of the obstacles that we've overcome, probably the biggest obstacle you have to overcome is your own mind when you want to accomplish something. So our minds can get in our way, but on the flip side, our minds can tell us we can do anything if we believe it. So let's do that. So let's talk about goals. So this is the mental nugget I want to take you through is about changing how you set your goals. So most of the time when we set goals, we set them in the future, like things we want to do, right? So like at the beginning of the year, we write our goals and we say, oh, I want to make a certain amount of money. So let's say, we'll just say $100,000. I want to make $100,000 this year. That might be what you write down as your goal. Or if you want to get in shape, you might say you want to lose a certain amount of weight. If you want to be happy, live a more balanced life, you might write it down. I want to be happy, live a more balanced life. Sport, like I want to improve my golf game. So the challenge is something for you to take away today is change how you write your goals and write them in present tense. So instead of I want to make a certain amount of money, you write I have a certain amount of money. Instead of writing how much weight you want to lose, you write your ideal weight down and say this is my current weight. Happy balanced life, great. Then you say I presently am living a happy balanced life, and then you golf, for the example, is write down I'm an excellent golfer. I'm still working on that one. I don't have that one figured out yet. But this is just a different way to write your goals. So what happens in our minds when we write our goals in the present tense is we remove the barrier of time. So we remove the past. We remove the depression, the regret, the whatever, worthlessness. And on the flip side is if we're writing our goals in the present tense, we also remove the fear of the future. All of that uncertainty goes away because it doesn't exist anymore. And so when you take your goals, my tip to you is when you take your goals, write in the present tense, print them off, and put them somewhere that you can see them every single day. And not only see them and read them every single day, but like say them out loud every single day. And like don't just say them in your head, like say them out loud. When you say things out loud, they become real. But what happens then is we focus on the present moment and you set your goals in present time, your goals change from goals and they become affirmations of things that you're already doing. This gives you the
No.
yeah. Seriously. He's confused. So your goals become affirmations. The things that you want to do, you train your mind into saying, I'm already doing the things that I want to do. This removes the barrier of time, the worry, the fear, the doubt, the anxiety. And it gives you a sense of confidence so you can walk around saying, all right, I've already accomplished everything that I want to do. And having that confidence makes going after everything you want so much easier. So I'm gonna give you my example here. So I did this, I put this to the test in 2022. 2022 was very different. Like, you know, I'm an ambitious person. I've always set very heavy, like, financial goals and like business goals. Well, in 2022, I shifted my focus completely. You know what? I'm going to focus on me, and I'm going to focus on my physical and mental health. So I set all my goals. Now, up here, I understand that they're written in future tense or past tense or whatever, but they happened last year. But I set my goals at the beginning of the year. I said I wanted to lose at least 30 pounds last year. I wanted to read at least 3 books. I wanted to spend more time with family, travel at least once. I wanted to purchase a nice bike. I wanted to get back on biking and take 3 days of bike rides. And then after all of that, that's when I set my business goals. I didn't focus on business last year. I mean, I have a certain amount of money I have to make. So yeah, I still have to work. I didn't put it by the wayside, but I didn't hyper focus on my business. So here's how that turned out by setting my goals in the present tense and convincing myself that I already accomplished what I wanted to do. My real results is I ended up losing 98 pounds. I read 36 books. I spent a shit ton of time with my family. I took 3 trips. I bought my bike and went on 10 good bike rides. So. The key part about this too is I made it a point to not focus on my business goals as much last year when my business did just fine. I didn't hyper focus on chasing the carrot at the end of the fishing line. My business did just fine. My results stayed the same as previous years, but I lived my life a lot more last year. So just wanted to share that with you. We went through a lot today. We went through a lot, and so that was a very high level overview. I'm a big believer in what we take in, like what we take in, who we are. So the stuff that we feed our minds is what generates the energy that we put out into the world. Energy that we put out in the world is what we put back. And there is so much toxic crap floating around out there full of information. So if anybody ever wants to have more conversations and talk about more, because there are several ways that we can hack our brains and rewire the way that we think to accomplish anything, I would be more than happy to host like masterminds or have further discussions on different tactics and things on how you can accomplish anything you want to accomplish. I did this at the beginning of this year, so to break through the toxic crap, I started a separate Instagram page. My whole goal for the separate Instagram page is just to break through the toxic information and put positive, thought-provoking content out there. Again, what you feed your mind is going to determine your energy. The energy you put out is what you get back in return. So if you haven't gone on and followed this page of mine, I would highly encourage you to follow that. There's a nice little QR code there. I'll leave that up for a minute. I also do have a real estate Instagram page too, so if you want to follow that, that'd be super. But my whole goal is just to make an impact on the world and make people think a little differently. So everybody get that? Everyone? Good. All right. So as I conclude here today, we talked about a lot, but I'm going to leave you, if you're going to leave with anything, we'll leave you with three key points. So my 3 key points I want you to remember is that life is all about choices. Every choice you make impacts the amount of choices you get to make. So choose to defy the odds, because you can accomplish anything. And with your energy and your goals affirmed in the present, you can accomplish everything you desire. And you know this now, because you've already done it. That's all I got.
That was so awesome. Speaking of affirmations, I went up to Cameron right before he was going on. I was like, you're going to hit out of the park, right? We're going to hit a grand slam. He's like, yeah, I got this. Like, okay, awesome. Because even before that, if you need any help, if you stutter or something, just point to me and I'll help you out. He's like, I got this. And that's the power of positive thinking, right? And it's a beautiful thing. I do have a beef to pick with somebody in this room, though, Emily. Next time, if you know somebody that wants to get their license as talented as Cameron, don't say it. Send the Ooh or Matt or anyone else. Michelle, Becca. I'm joking. Shane's awesome. But it's not the first time we hear that his bench thing looks like he's a rolling here or whatever. I think it's a good look. We'll that look later. But anyways, for everyone that's been here before, normally we like to go up to about 11, and it's about 10:46. And so I'm going to take a little bit of time, just kind of process some notes, because I was really inspired this morning on the way here to talk about a few things. But back to Cameron real quick. I just want to say, hey, we love you. We do love Emily a little bit more. She is, I think, some of our favorite Campos, but we're really proud to know you, proud to have you here. Excited. I remember you coming to all these parties before you were an agent, and it's pretty neat to hear that our parties work and inspire people. So, hey, you know, I'm one of just a few votes, but I'm pretty persuasive. I call it agent persuasion. But back to that team party ideas, and this goes to all of our friends online too. Who wants to do a theme party? And even we have instant ideas. So I already have a good idea. How many people in this room have high schoolers? High schoolers. How many people are watching them get all dressed up? That's more so like to make sure everyone's listening. How many watch them like get all dressed up and go to homecoming dances and prom? Should we do a spring like prom, 80 prom? Oh no, Cameron said it. I'm going off what Cameron said. He said bring back the 90s. Andy, yeah, we said bring back the 90s. 90s prom. Okay, never mind. Hey, guess what? We'll do a poll and we'll come up with an awesome theme idea, and then we'll go from there. Go back to Cameron. I was kind of disappointed he didn't tell you guys what his name means. Can I tell? The Spanish version. Is it your first name or your last name?
But his full name is Shrimp Fields.
Okay, his full name is in Spanish. Cameron is a Spanish descent, and it means little shrimp field. And so Cameron. You're exactly right. Cameron. And then I have another marketing idea for Cameron and Chris. This is perfect. You know, he said they're the MC team, and who from the 90s and 80s, this was my first concert, went to MC Hammer Vanilla Ice, Iowa State, back in 1994. So Cameron and Chris should totally do, let's vote. This is, hey, everything that it gets voted is like mandatory, it's canon. So they should do like a listing video and come out, open the door. Can't touch this. Yeah, that deal? Yes. Too hot to handle, too cold to hold. They call it go just in control. I didn't think about that, so I have no idea where that came from. Keep going. That's actually me pausing so that I can keep going with my notes. But no, thank you, Cameron, so much. We're going to count down later. Not your definition. Later. Hey, you can not get your place down together. It's not safe. Well, I'm baby. Hey, pop on, baby. Okay. I don't want to find out like anything. Thanks, okay. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. Oh wait, before I forget, you know, I always like social media opportunities. We're always here to market network. Clicker. Can we put that clicker back to where Cameron said concepts is the best? We did not pay him to say that, by the way. But if you go back to that slide, Cameron, and me and you and whoever are, like, we'll take a picture of it later. We'll do that before we leave. But I do want to, whoever else wants to take a picture of it. We are, I don't know, that's kind of like bragging, right? But do it. Anywho, but one of the biggest takeaways I have for you guys, like I said, I got 9 more minutes to pump you guys up. So one of the biggest takeaways I got from that is mindset is everything. And if you guys know me, I'm all about positive mindset. Every day, positive mental attitude, right? And so one thing I want to add to what Cameron said is there's a subconscious mind and there's a conscious mind. The conscious mind is always telling the subconscious mind what to do, right? And so sometimes our awesome consciousness says, yeah, you're going to have a great day today. You're a money-making machine and everyone loves you. But then sometimes your consciousness will say, you suck. No one wants to buy a house from you. And guess what the subconscious mind automatically does? Because your brain is a magnet. It attracts that negative energy. So I love what Cameron said, and I just want to make sure that that's all that you remember today is your brain, your energy is everything, okay? So they say that attitude is contagious. So one of the things is if you're ever feeling down, make sure you grab on to someone that has super positive, energetic attitude, right? And then that way, what's going to happen next? I learned this in Sales 101 back in the day. It's your attitude, not your aptitude, that determines your altitude, right? Okay, so with that being said, I was at some agent opens yesterday. I went to like 4 or 5 or 6 agent opens, and I was kind of listening to some of the agents talk. And one of the things that I really took away from it is back to attitude, guys. And Cameron said this, we're still living in the past. We're living in 4% rate hike bill, right? And it happened, guys. It happened, and it sucked. It wasn't cool. But guess what? That, I feel, was the eye of the storm. And we're all here. We all survived this hurricane, and rates, like Chuck was saying earlier, 4%, 5.4, 5.6. I mean, those rates are amazing. And so what we need to do as an industry, as the real estate leaders for all of our friends, all of our family members, all of our past clients, is we need to tell everybody 5% is a great rate. It's an awesome rate. I've talked about this before. When I first got my first home, it was 5.75, and I love that rate. And what did we find out? For those of us that got to lock in at 2%, that was awesome. That was personally awesome, selfishly awesome. But 2% was not great for our clients. 2% was not great for the economy. 2% was definitely not great for costs. And I'll give you an example. I have listed and built a house, same square footage as one of my 2015 home show houses. And I have that thing on the market for $988, still available, by the way. But I sold an even better version of that, though. Honestly, in 2015, who went to my the Prairie Trail home show house? I sold that thing for like $758. So here I am. That was 2015. 7-8 years later, and this thing's $200,000. So we don't like 2% rates. Don't tell your clients to wait for 2%, 3%. Tell them that 5 is a great rate, and let's just let it stay there. So back to what I'm getting at is when people ask you how the market is, back to attitude is contagious. Be careful how you look at them. Be careful what your body language says to them, and totally be careful about your tone and your words. And put someone on the spot. I didn't really ask anybody, but does anyone, if you were like to be asked by a stranger in like a checkout lane, or asked by your friends or family members like how the market is, does anyone have they feel something that they feel they'd like to share, like an awesome answer?
Depends.
It depends. That's what it is. Okay. Sarah?
I'll tell you, everybody, because I went from being a partner at a firm doing trial work for a decade, so totally opposite end of the spectrum. Everybody's like, ooh, you went to real estate? What made you do that? It's gotta be risky. I'm probably not doing anything. I'm freaking swamped most days. Guy's busy. There's a lot of days I look at the clock, my day's done. And I think that shocks everybody when I tell them that.
Yeah. And Sarah, and thank you for saying that. And Sarah's on the back end. On the back end, that's kind of what I always tell is a lag indicator. Our closings, the title work, updating abstracts, those are all lag indicators of what's leading that. And what's leading that? The buyers and the sellers. And so I do like what Cameron said. It all depends. Those that get coached by Tom Berry, that's his exact answer. How's the market? Well, it all depends. He's kind of got these kind of can lines, but I don't really love those can lines, but because I want you guys to make your response your own. So if someone were to ask me, how's the market? We could definitely say it depends, for sure. But what I would do is just give them pretend like you're Yahoo Finance or CNN, but instead of being be the opposite of them. So what are they going to say? Oh, housing markets in most major cities are coming down. Prices are coming down 20%. They're going to crash. No, the market is correcting, right? So make sure we use the right words. Rates didn't hike. They increased back to normal, healthy, sustainable levels. Inventory isn't terrible. Inventory is not bad. Certain, and it all depends on the market. Are you in the market for, and this is where it all goes back to, it depends. Are you in the market as a first-time home buyer to buy a 250, 300? Right now, these are the opportunities that you have. Do you know that some lenders are coming back with some awesome programs, buy down, 7-1s, 15 years, or in the 4% range? There's also some great, awesome brands. And
financing opportunities? Are you a mover upper? Did you buy a house in 2015, 2013, 2019, and you want to move up? You're gonna do really well. You know there's less than 1 month of inventory in the price point of where you own. And so think about how we all can portray the market better, because we all, when we post, like when Cameron posts, when I post, when you guys all post, we are posting information to thousands of people. Then they in turn can then share that information to dozens, hundreds, if not. So we are huge influencers about the real estate market. Now, of course, you guys know me, I'm pretty toxically positive, and I can spin anything, sell ice and Eskimo if I wanted to, right? But so we just have to be careful of how we say things. We don't want to say, because on the other end, we don't want to say, oh man, that house sold in 10 minutes and sold this fast, and I did this, and I made this, much money. You got to be careful on how we portray that part of it too, because then we can totally turn people off. So I want to share some things back to the law of abundance. Rhonda did a report. She shares it with us as an ownership group, leadership group. And I just want to let you guys know, and I don't want to say this if you don't have any business right now. I'm not trying to say this to demoralize you, right? I just want to share that, pending, year-to-date pending for concepts right now, we got over 300 deals. We've closed over 300 deals, over 80 million in volume. That's pretty impressive. Now that's also, us as a company. So I just want to make sure that you guys know that the phone can and should start to ring, because spring has sprung already. I mean, doesn't it feel like I look outside, it feels like it's spring already.
It will next week. Come on.
When I feel the inside of my chest, it's pretty out here. No, seriously, no. So I did something, but so okay, so spring for me has sprung, and I hope that's whatever I just said with the sun shining, and I know the snow wants to melt. I can just will it to melt, right? But no, honestly, guys, spring has sprung in the fact that I've said this before. Most renters want to move in spring and or fall because they want to avoid summer and winter because of the temperature. So they're looking because they know that they got to find a house, which is one of the biggest obstacles they have. Plus, they got to close on a house, which is going to take 30 to 45 days. So spring, and Lance said this the other day, right? The spring market really starts January 15th. Buyers are totally out there, and watch them on my old coaching videos. Take those buyers, compound them. So I want you guys to think about lots of things with your database, because it's all in the database. And my girl Jenny from the block made this awesome post that the 15 million and older, or not older, 15 million and above group said everybody wished that they would have done a better job, especially this guy, with their past clients, their sphere influence. So what I want to make sure I tell you guys is spread the news of the great market change, the correction that if they own a house under 300,000, even under 400,000 resale, don't you guys all agree? That's a pretty good upcoming listing, because those 250, 300 buyers, they could go buy a new house, and no disrespect to my new construction agents and builders, because, but they're not getting a big of a house as what they can get in the resale. So mine your database for those people in your sphere that have those perfect homes that they bought for 250 that's now worth 400. It's a great opportunity for them, because on the flip side, what we really want to spin to them is moving up right now into the 500, 600 market. Who's gotten an offer accepted in that range? Are we getting deals? We're getting there are people getting closing costs and buy downs and price reductions and throwing in the cats and everything else. So, well, they asked, but so anyways, what I want you guys to do is train and coach your network on what's really going on. Be their media. Don't let them listen to the media. And I think that's pretty much all I got, other than I want to say we got some events coming up, right, Becca? Yeah. We need some how many RSVPs do we have for the
I don't have it in front of me, but we have quite a few, so.
Okay, so please RSVP for the awards party. That's February 24th. Yep. Friends from out of town. We've got some hotel rooms booked. That's at Embassy Suites. And then also raise a hand who's going to R4 Vegas, baby. Harry? Jenny? 3 people? Campos? Okay. It's not too late to register for R4. R4 is coming up. And that's from the last week of February 27th to March 3rd, March 2nd. and it's awesome.
Be
So,
sure and let us know if you are going, so that we can make sure you're invited all the staff.
and then other than that, guys, that's all I got. I just want to make sure you guys all know that we got your back with anything we need. Coaching, pep talks, having a bad day, give us a call. We believe in you, we support you, and just thanks for just everything that you guys are doing. And I do want you, like, we got some new faces, make sure you introduce yourself to someone you don't know, 1 or 2 or 3 people you don't know. And then on that, go out and sell. Right?